Hey, what's going on, guys? Short Fuse here, and today I'm going to be unapologetically ranting and raving about the current state of the fighting game community and explain why I'm almost 99% sure KOF 15 is going to suck. Let's go. Now, the best way to understand the future is to look at the history. In the late 80s and early 90s, Street Fighter took the world by storm and established many of the now staple elements of what constitutes a fighting game. Now, this was a time when fighting games, as we know them, weren't really a thing. There was no agreed upon blueprint of how exactly a fighting game should look and play like. But Capcom set the standards. They didn't just create a game, they single-handedly created a genre. And for a while thereafter, literally every fighting game that came out was automatically labeled as a Street Fighter clone. This really wasn't sitting well with Capcom's main competitor, SNK. From early on, you can tell they went out of their way to stand out, innovate, and differentiate themselves from what Capcom was doing. You can see it in Fatal Fury's lane switching playstyle. You can see it in Art of Fighting's big sprites and dynamic camera movements. You can see it in Samurai Showdown's weapon-based tactical gameplay. And you can see it in King of Fighters' focus on mobility with added dashing, running, rolling, evading, and 3-on-3 combat. This compulsive need for innovation is what kept SNK one step ahead and in a slightly different direction, away from the norm and conventions. This brought us a variety of advanced tactical gameplay options such as Max Mode, the Striker systems in the NES era, Hyperdrive activation mid-combo in the cancel system of 2002, the tag system during the Ash Saga, and the insanely intricate combo system of KOF XIII. SNK was synonymous with hardcore. They were uncompromising and they stood their ground for the entirety of their career, even when times were tough, but eventually things caught up with them. The landscape of the fighting game genre has changed and SNK finally sold out and officially stopped trying when this atrocity came out. The disaster that was KOF 14 is indicative of a bigger underlying problem that plagued the fighting game community as a whole, not just SNK. There is no hardcore element in this community anymore. Everybody rolled over and just made peace with the fact that all fighting games are kiddie fighting games now. Nobody rebelled. Nobody boycotted anything. Nobody seems to even be up in arms about it anymore. Typical gamers. No spine, no principles. They just eat up whatever garbage the devs try and feed them. Face it, KOF 15 is gonna suck. Don't expect a hardcore experience. It simply isn't happening anymore. There's been a shift in the industry during the PS4 generation, and there is no going back now. The bar has been set. The acceptable standard is what it is. You have an entire new generation of fighting game players that have been raised on a steady diet of Street Fighter V easy mode, casual, water wings, training wheels nonsense. This is all they know, and all the other games followed suit in order to be competitive. You give these people Street Fighter 4 or KOF 13 and their head is gonna explode. They'll be like, hey, wait a minute, what is this sorcery? Why can't I link this medium into this heavy? So yeah, look at the history. We can observe this trend and it's plain to see. It only gets less and less hardcore over time. And it's never the other way around once the decline begins. They cannot afford to ostracize the core audience. Coming out with a hardcore, honest-to-God fighting game in the current climate would be industry suicide. I recently finally bought a copy of KOF 14, secondhand of course, because I don't want to support this garbage with my wallet, and the game is an absolute joke. Forget about the graphics, I'm talking gameplay here, and I've given it a fair shot. I've spent at least 5 hours in the lab, scouring every inch of it for some semblance of anything, even remotely resembling some intricacy, complexity, or difficulty. There's nothing there. The combo system is a joke. The cancel system in HD activation is laughable with how loose and forgiving it is. It's a remedial KOF game one would give to a very young child to learn the ropes and basics of fighting games. This is boring. Mindlessly doing combos with the certainty that they'll just come out perfectly every single time, requiring no effort or concentration, is whack. The stakes is so low that it becomes a lame footsie game that culminates into an autopilot 25-hit combo that gives zero satisfaction. Now I get it, for somebody who's new to this, the instant gratification will feel great for a while. But without depth, complexity, intricacy, and without requiring you to pour blood, sweat, and tears into it, there's no point to it at all. Easy come, easy go. Now one can make the argument that KOF XII was a watered down, bland, unremarkable entry, and then 13 came out and changed the whole game. But those were different times, and 12 was the way it was for different reasons. I mean, can you seriously envision any scenario where KOF 15 will have KOF 2002 style of HD activation dash, or insanely high difficulty combos that require frame perfect precision and input requirements? These kids would shit in their diapers if you tried to give them that. It would be like giving a Formula 1 car to a toddler. Come on, let's be serious here. It's over. Fighting games are dead. Making games to appeal to little kids and make them feel good for an afternoon or two is what sells. It's what makes easy money. And let's face it, it's all about the profits. You think Capcom or SNK have any principles or convictions? They're companies. They have shareholders to please. And they operate in a very Darwinian level. They adapt to whatever the market demands at the time. When it was time to milk us dry with coin ops, they made the game super hard in order to extort more quarters from us. Now they do the opposite, to make little Timmy feel like he can play fighting games, and mom buys him the DLC, until the next Fortnite comes out. But by that time, it doesn't matter anymore. They already cashed the check. So Timmy has moved on after a week or two, while hardcore fans who have been here through thick and thin for 3 decades are left with an empty shell of a game that offers absolutely nothing in way of sinking our teeth in for the entire generation. Can you imagine if we did this to sports or chess? Can you imagine turning the MLB into wiffle ball affairs, forcing veteran players who spent 30 years honing their skill to swing plastic hollowed out bats at balls situated on top of them little peewee pedestals or whatever? Get the fuck out of here. Now allow me to play an excerpt from an interlude from Ice-T's 4th studio album, Home Invasion, that perfectly summarizes what I'm talking about here.
Question and answer. What does a rapper do when he starts out hardcore but can't sell enough records to remain in the record business? Answer. He goes pop. This answer is not set up to diss anybody who starts out pop, but for the rappers who started out hardcore and now are making weak-ass dance music because they couldn't stay down with the hardcore. I just got a question for you. How does it feel to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and realize that you're a fucking hoe?
Do you see my point? There's nothing wrong with softball being a thing. There's nothing wrong with checkers existing. And there's nothing wrong with new fighting games coming out that are designed from the ground up to be more simplistic and accessible. As long as you don't bastardize franchises that started off hardcore and have a 30-year hardcore legacy behind them. Let hardcore be hardcore and let casual be casual. There's nothing wrong with the two worlds coexisting. I have no beef with Soulja Boy making his little 30-word-a-minute glorified hook of a song and doing his dumbass little Superman dance or whatever. That's not on my radar. You do you, moron. However, I do have beef with Nas appearing in goddamn Jennifer Lopez videos or Busta Rhymes chilling with the Pussycat Dolls. And you know, whenever we bring forth these kind of arguments, the new generation gets dismissive with that okay boomer bullshit. Like we are some gatekeeping old heads stuck in the past, unable to get with the times. But this isn't a matter of old school versus new school. Street Fighter V literally insults our collective intelligence. This insults me on a personal level. The world around me is changing and everything I used to love is gone. It's all bad, objectively speaking. Whenever you water down and dumb down something purely for financial reasons, there's no argument to be made in order to justify it. Yes, the kids like it, but that's only because they don't know any better. And look, you can easily win a Street Fighter 4 match with 3-hit, 3-frame link combos. In fact, it's what most people do anyway. Long and complex combos were never mandatory in order to excel, especially with the way damage scaling works. You can rely on good footsies, good reads, awareness, and mix-ups. But again, little Timmy needs his 30-hit combo fix, so let's make it brain dead easy, I guess. The PS4 generation has been a constant, relentless stream of one disappointment after the other. Street Fighter V is an embarrassment. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, shell of its former self. KOF 14, not even worth mentioning. Dragon Ball FighterZ, what a joke. Guilty Gear Strive, watered down, oversimplified atrocity of a Guilty Gear game. And the rest was the typical anime fighter affairs that I didn't expect much from to begin with, but that would have been fine if I could get my hardcore fix from actual once upon a time hardcore franchises. Now I'd like to leave on a positive note. It's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, KOF 15 will probably suck. I highly doubt it will be the exception to the rule in an endless sea of oversimplified, stripped-down fighting games. And yes, fighting games as we once knew them are for all intents and purposes dead. Call it, doctor. However, we do have a huge back catalog of real, authentic, hard as nails, balls to the wall, hardcore fighting games to choose from. They're not going anywhere. And with the advent of things like Fightcade, rollback netcodes, faster broadband internet becoming more readily available worldwide, and consumer-grade computers slowly becoming powerful enough to emulate pretty much anything, I think the future ain't all that bad. And we're lucky too, cause 2D hand-drawn sprites are timeless and will never go out of style. Now, would I mind a Street Fighter 6 that looks like Guilty Gear Strive and plays like Street Fighter 4 and Third Strike combined? Of course not. But I said it many times, competitive fighting games are like sports. They're timeless. The battlefield and equipment may be old, but every war is new each single time. Same as chess. It's the same board, with the same pieces and the same rules, but each game is different. Just like it always has been, and just like it always will. So be positive, be grateful for what we have. Let's be honest, we had a good run. And go play all the amazing fighting games at your disposal. Forget about the PS4, PS5 BS. The dream is over. And I really hope I'm wrong about KOF 15. I've never wished to be more wrong in my entire life, but I'm probably not, unfortunately. Let's wait and see. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.